bet you're wondering where the host is, Chris Akin. Well, bad news, ladies and gentlemen. He's not here. Unfortunately for him, I spiked his bulgogi with laxatives. He'll be on the shitter for a week. In the meantime, you're going to be stuck with Seth and the usual co-host, Erik Baratinos.
A hell of an intro there, man. Nice. Yeah.
Thank you. So, Seth, thank you so much for coming in tonight on such short notice. But our fearless leader, Chris Akin, has fallen ill.
I want to apologize to your audience first and foremost, man. I sincerely apologize for filling in for him. He called me last minute, like just before I was about to do my show, and was like, "Man, I got the flu or something. Can you fill in for me?" And I was like, "Fill in for you. It's like one of your biggest shows that you've ever had. Like, I know the lineup tonight." And I'm like, "Get the fuck out. I'm not filling in for tonight."
We have an incredible lineup tonight. This is a Monsters of Rock pre-party that we got going on today. But unfortunately, the ship's kind of sinking with Chris not being here. As you can see in the background, the USS Akin is taking on water. But don't worry, you have myself and our good friend Seth tonight to keep the show afloat. And how did you like my intro there? How did you like
that? Was awesome, man. That was
Scully?
good. I don't know how your show works. I mean, you guys get like a lot of comments and all that kind of stuff. I mean, am I supposed to put those comments up? And
yeah, you can throw comments up for now. Looks like normal.
Better, Chris.
Hopes that Chris gets better, and Scully lets him out of the basement or wherever he is. But yeah, these things. There's a funny story behind this. I had a really fun weekend. I don't know about you, but for me, I had the weekend off, and I was with my girlfriend Susan, and we had our old friend Emmy down here, and we had a great time drinking and eating. I'm right here on the beach in Oceanside, and
nice.
We went beach combing, found all kinds of cool stuff. And at the place, the complex that we live at, on the way in, there's a nice little outside shower thing that you can hose off your feet or what have you, or whatever your belongings that got sandy at the beach.
Yeah.
And sometimes people, because we get a lot of vacationers here, sometimes people leave behind items, and they have families. It's mostly families with kids that come. And I don't know if it's because my girlfriend's a little bit older that they have like different words for things, but like if you had a child and you were at the beach, what would you call these?
What the hell do we call this?
Well, if you were like, hey, go play with these in the sand. I mean, they have the right.
Yeah, little shovel kind of things.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Shovels, right? You know what she calls them?
I'm
gonna get in trouble for this, but sand diggers.
Wow. All right. Well, I guess it is what it is, but yeah.
Oh man, when she said that, I almost lost it. It was totally innocent. She's the most liberal person. Yeah, she's born in California. She did not mean anything by that. But for me, a guy born in New Jersey in the 70s, of course, I found this hilarious. So
East Coast thing, I guess.
She was like, "Ooh, I love those sand diggers. I want to take those home with me. I want to put those sand diggers on the porch." And I was like, whoa, you're going to get us kicked out of here. What are you talking like that for? So, no, it was just weird that she would call those sand diggers. They're shovels, right? Who calls them that? She's so weird.
I'm in Cleveland, Ohio. So, like, the closest we have to a beach is Lake Erie. And the only thing that, the sand is all right, but the only thing that washes up is the dead fucking fish and stuff like that. I mean, you got nothing up here. And so, yeah, there's not a whole lot of people digging in the sand here. I'm afraid of what you're going to find.
We found cool stuff. California's had a crazy amount of rain going on.
I saw that.
Now, usually, like, they're always crying about a drought here so they could tax the shit out of us.
Yeah.
And Gavin Newsom, he'll never admit that the drought's been over for a while. They just kind of change how they word it.
Yeah, they don't know what to do with the floodwater though.
It's like the drought emergency's better than it's been, but they can't admit that it's been like raining for weeks here. It's crazy. We've had so many floods. The San Diego River has like overflowed, causing all these sewage spills. Like since I've moved into this place 6 months ago, there's been 3 huge sewage spills due to bad pipes and Tijuana, and other problems. Just the overflow of water that's caused sewage releases here where the beach has been closed. I mean, I see it ahead of time just because I live right here. I can just like look outside and all of a sudden the waves look like diarrhea and it's like, uh-oh. And it's funny because they tell people for like 2 days. You'll see surfers there, family stuff. You're like, ooh. I don't go out there even when it looks clean, but I certainly ain't gonna really submerge myself. But with all the storms comes a lot of cool, sea treasures and stuff. And we find really awesome rocks and shells, and I get artsy and take pictures of them and put them on my Instagram and Facebook. And people that don't live at the beach, like yourself, can enjoy some of those cool finds that I walk out there for hours. But do you know what sea glass is?
I mean, I lived in Miami for quite some time, so I think I know what sea glass is, but
yeah.
You found some sea glass?
Oh, man. We found sea glass, but it's very special. Behold!
Nice.
It's magical. It's actually pieces of the firmament. Did you know that?
There you go.
No, I don't know if that's true.
You know how I know it was raining? I'm not weird or anything, man, but I have a fascination with Disney. Don't worry, I'm married to like a woman and I got kids and stuff like that. But I enjoy watching TikTok, and they have all these freaking guys out there that are like, 50 years old who do live TikTok videos of Disney. And so I'm watching TikTok of this dude walking around Disney. It's raining. He's getting on rides and shit. But that's how I knew it was raining back in California.
Oh, because you saw a guy here in Anaheim that was
Anaheim. He's riding on rides in the rain. We actually have Kip on the line already, man.
He's here already?
He's here already. I mean, do you want to take a quick break?
If he wants to come and rock with us early, that's totally fine with us.
Let me just tell you real quick before we take a quick break and we'll go to Kip. But
okay,
I am super nervous about having this guy on.
Oh, don't be.
No, because my wife, she's got a twin sister, right?
Okay.
Both of them are like 80s girls, man. They just love the 80s music. They love all this kind of stuff. And I'm pretty sure that they're watching tonight only because they've always had a thing for Kip Winger.
He was a
like,
sex
I can't
symbol.
live up. He is and was and is again and still is.
He and Stephen Pearcy, they have a lot in common besides being singers of 80s bands. Both of these guys were in Playgirl magazine.
I'm sure that my wife had the issue.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a quick break and then we'll get to Kip Winger, all right?
Sounds good.
All right, hang on.
Stop whatever you're doing and let AppyPie develop your mobile app in about 5 minutes. If you can visit mobileapp.cmspn.com to get started, you will get a mobile app for iOS or Android for your product or service built without any coding knowledge. The problem is that in order to get more traffic, you have to pay more money and spend far more time creating your mobile app. But don't worry. There is a better way. Let AppyPie build your app for you today. Visit mobileapp.cmspn.com now to get started.
Yeah, woo!
There he is.
There he is.
Man, the myth, the legend.
We meet again, Mr. Kip. How are you, sir?
What's up, Chris? How you doing?
Well, in Chris's position here tonight, Kip, is our good friend
Erik.
Seth. Right.
Hey, wait a minute. Why didn't you guys play the new song?
Because that's what Chris told me to play. So that's what that's how Chris rolls. He's going to tell me what to do and then have it all wrong.
I'll tell you what I wanted to hear was
hey, Erik. Where's your guitar, dude?
I got lots of guitars around, dude.
Oh,
Where's your guitar?
You should be playing that thing while you're on here.
I got a picture of me playing, I think, Janie Lane's guitar, and I'm sitting in a room with you, and this dates back probably 18 years now. This was for the VH1 Stripped tour, where you, Stephen Piercy, Don Dokken, the whole Firehouse band. Yeah, and then, of course, how can we forget the guy who terrorized us the whole time, our deceased buddy, Janie Lane. What a nutty... Do you remember any of that, or did you block it out?
Oh, no, hell yeah. I totally remember. That was... how could I forget? That was... I think he was at one of his lowest points, unfortunately. Poor guy.
It got progressively worse as the tour went on. I mean, for me...
They almost threw him off the bus.
Well, he got thrown off the bus. I remember we had a secondary vehicle that all the road crew was on. And I think it took about 3 days before all of a sudden he was on that. He had pretty much run through and terrorized him. He started out really nice. I remember at first he had a really nice, I think, Taylor acoustic guitar, and I had a really shitty guitar. I was not ready to play. Excuse me. I was not ready to play this thing. We had just got off the Wasp tour. I was more a rock band guy. I didn't even, I think, own an acoustic at the time, and I had to scrunch one up for this thing. And I got some Epiphone crappy acoustic that could hardly stay in tune. And Janie had this super sweet Taylor guitar, and he was like, "Hey, you can play my guitar if you want." And he was very friendly at first, and I think he might have been sober when he first got on this thing, but he fell off the wagon real quick, and then he just one by one just terrorized every one of us. I think he also might have robbed our friend Don Dokken of some very expensive booze one night. There were some crazy antics, but they threw him off the bus, and he ended up having to follow us, and it just got worse from there. But what a Spinal Tappy weird thing. Was that the first time you were ever on a tour like that, where you were on the same bus as these other 80s?
Yes, the first and the last. I had fun on that. I mean, we did some fun shit on that tour, and there were some decent shows and stuff. But yeah, he was causing a lot of problems.
You are a consummate professional, though. I would say at the time, I mean, you and Don were fantastic, as well as Firehouse. It wasn't really, acoustic shows weren't really Piercy's wheelhouse. He does better with the full rock band behind him. And this was a weird thing for us to go up there and not have drums, but you seemed very comfortable. You had, I would assume, had been doing acoustic performances leading up to that, because you would do songs like Miles Away, and it was it would elicit, emotion from everyone. It was just very passionate, and it was amazing to behold. And this was actually right before YouTube. This is 2006. So YouTube, there isn't much video of this out there, but I remember you being professional the whole time and killing it. But then you had the rest of us that were a mess. Janie Piercy and me and Frankie out there.
I actually started my acoustic thing in 1996 because during the grunge year, it was the only gig I could get. And so I would go out when I did my first solo album, This Conversation Seems Like a Dream. I went out and did about 40 border bookstores. And it was 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and there'd be 10 people in the bookstore. And that was the only gig I could get at the time. And so I was one of the first guys that just wielded my acoustic and said, well, it was a huge fall from grace. And I just started there one by one, just kind of did it. I still do my acoustic show to this day. I mean, I enjoy it a lot, actually. Especially when I have my percussionists with me. It's and God, now it's been years and years now. But anyway, so yeah, it's
Helps
fun.
to have some kind of groove underneath, or possibly some people use backing tracks. But when I know what you're talking about, it was a rough ride, like the early 2000s. Things were not good, and then after the station fire and the DC sniper, it was tough, man, for the 80s rock bands. But great bands die hard, and the fans, rock fans, are so loyal, and they did come back around. Like, we can't live without these guys. Next thing you know, all our bands are back out playing festivals again. And
Absolutely, yeah. No, we're doing great now. I mean, so it's been really good.
now, how about the how did you survive the pandemic? Tell us about that.
I mean, for musicians, I don't think it was much different, right? I mean, we couldn't do as much, and the streets were empty. As like, so I live in Nashville and I live downtown, so it was like weird to see like just completely empty, and because it's usually just slamming down there. But I mean, I work from home anyway, so for me it wasn't really that different. Okay, it was different, but not like it didn't destroy my life like it did a lot of
No.
people. I mean, I think it really screwed the world up in a bad way, and travel became awful. I remember when wearing a mask on a plane was like, oh, are you kidding me? I don't want to wear a mask on the plane. And then it just became second nature. But like I say, I work at home, so I mean, we started this new album, in right before the pandemic, and then the pandemic hit, and so it was like it set us back quite a bit. But when I could finally get Reb to come to Nashville, even during the pandemic, we wrote through it, as did most bands. I think that's why you're seeing a lot of new albums coming out now.
What's it like recording in Nashville as opposed to like back in the heyday? Does that sound pretty cool, or what?
Recording in Nashville, yeah.
So, well, I do everything in my own studio. Like, I've had my own studio since 1996. So I learned real quick that I didn't want to pay the bills of everybody else's studio. And I'm also quite the gear.
And he's gone.
Did we lose Kip there?
We did. We did lose Kip.
Uh-oh.
So,
well, hopefully, Kip, if you're listening, you can call back and we'll pop him back in as soon as he does. I was just getting into that. I was like, go on, Kip.
He's dreamy. He's good looking, man.
I'm getting lost in your eyes, Kip. Go on.
What happened?
Oh, there he is.
I was right in mid-sentence. I've been buying and selling gear for 20 years, more than that. And I've got very nice recording gear. I don't have a lot of it because I bought and sold myself right down to the bare essentials for what I think are good.
Sure.
So to answer your question, there's a lot of fantastic studios in Nashville, like the top drawer stuff, all levels, the very highest ones you can get next to Abbey Road, all the way down to Junior's backyard. And the thing about Nashville is that it's big country town, and people write songs nonstop, and so they're cranking out 250 demos a day or whatever.
It's insane.
It's insane. Having said that, a lot of it sounds quite cookie cutter. Some of it's incredible, but to answer your question, I mean, for me, it's no different than working anywhere else I have, because it's all in my own space, So
right. You have time to really explore too, right, Kip? I mean, some of these tracks on this new album, which, by the way, the album is called 7, and the release date is going to be May 5th. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. There's some kick-ass songs for the old Winger fans. Plus, you guys have grown as songwriters as well. But I'll tell you, the last track on there stuck with me, and this is like an opus that you have. This song's like 7 minutes long, but all comes back around, and it's a beautifully complex song where it's almost like you wanted to get the respect of these Nashville people there. You went the extra distance with this track, so I wanted to commend you.
That's actually my favorite song on the record. It's kind of like headed for a heartbreak number 2, but I didn't intentionally do that. It was kind of by accident. and actually, you know, I wrote that song myself. I wrote "Headed for Heartbreak" myself too, but it wasn't unintentional. It was like a, you know, I had the keyboard riff, and Reb, you know, Reb would come and go, and I would keep working on stuff as we were writing, and I just fell upon that idea by accident. And I say this in every interview I do. All great ideas happen by accident. You can't try to craft a great idea. It's always like crafting stuff and fumbling through the darkness, and then bang, you get hit by lightning by accident because your coffee spilled on your keyboard and you went to wipe it and hit exactly the right note that you were looking for, or something like
Right.
that. But and that's how that song was born. And it's got kind of an orchestral middle eight and then a big long ending for the solo, because traditionally on Winger albums we do a long ending on on one song so Reb can just do what he does, you know. And
Sure. Now you're a rock guy. You've always been, and the influences are there too. I mean, there's a little bit of AC/DC on some of the tracks, a little bit of Kiss, sound songs, and actually, you know, I don't know if you would agree with this or not, but one of my favorite bands, Rainbow.
oh yeah,
There's a song, you know, "Stick the Knife In and Twist." To me, it has kind of a Death Alley Driver kind of vibe,
it
which I
does.
love that track.
It
Okay,
does.
I don't know
You're
if that
right.
was intentional or not.
No, it wasn't, but you're right. I mean, I wouldn't have thought of that, but it definitely does. I couldn't remember. It's kind of, especially when you get to the verse, it's like, yeah, totally.
Well, in rock music, you know, there's a lot of songs that are similar to others. There's only 7 notes. You know what I mean? Some of these rock progressions are similar or could work over other ones and so forth. But
Right.
I thought the record, I was very impressed with it. I mean, the consistency of it, and I definitely highly recommend all 80s rock people pick this up. And especially the Winger fans are going to love it for sure. And like you
That's
said,
good.
you know, you have some old school songs. Broken Glass is another vibey track. Tell us a
Broken
little bit
Glass.
about that one.
It's a very interesting song. You know, relationship song. The interesting part of that song is that Paul Taylor, and by the way, it's all original members on this album, and every guy played on every song. So the recipe of the band is all in every track. But on Broken Glass, Paul Taylor actually played the guitar solo, and
Wow.
which is something that he's never done on a Winger album before. And he's a great lead player. So I was thinking, well, let's get Paul on here to play a solo, and he did an awesome job. And that one was one of the first songs we wrote from musically. We had the chorus. We were, you know, kind of pounding out the chorus, and Reb, I think, wrote the chorus melody in octaves on his guitar, and I just kind of started singing along with it. And then Reb went home, and then, you know, it's always kind of like Reb and I start something. We'll do a riff, we'll arrange the stuff, and then I'm always left to finish a lot of the stuff. But
Do you guys do it together or all the time, or is it more like he's in his studio at home and just you bounce stuff back and forth to each other?
no, I refuse to do that. I can't work like that. I think, you know, the only time I work like that is, for example, when I did a she said thing for COVID with Mike Portnoy and Andy Timmons and Jeff Scott Soto, you know, where we're all phoning in our tracks and stuff. But when it comes
Mhm.
to something so high stakes, I mean, I've got a definite way I want to hear stuff. So I want to be able to sit with the musician, not tell them what to do, but Reb and I have a kind of a simpatico that way. He knows, and we trust each other, and that's really key. You know, he'll be playing, I'll be like, fix that one thing right there, and I don't want to have to do that, but you can't really do that long distance. I mean, it's all like
Sure.
very visceral. We're in the moment. We don't make demos. If we come up with the riff and the track, we cut it right there. I said, before we write one note, I set up all the tones, guitar sound, like made for the album guitar sound before we write note one. I've actually never said that in an interview. That's the first time I've heard it.
Now, do you model certain amps that you've owned, and that's how you got these tones, or how
No,
do you
no,
how do you
no,
go
no.
about getting the tones for this
No,
record?
that's Reb's guitar going through a John Suhr custom audio head through a 66 reissue Marshall slant cabinet with greenbacks, and the microphone is a Shure KSM 32 into a Neve 1272 preamp right into Pro Tools.
Wow.
Yeah, we don't model anything. I don't do any of that modeling stuff.
Right.
Maybe I should. I don't look down on it.
It's not all the way there yet.
Yeah,
I do it for solos. That's it.
thank you. Thank you. I can hear the difference. A lot of people can't. Some people can. It's great for live because you don't have to worry about what amp you're getting that night. Although we're so old school, dude. We still rent gear when we play live. It's like it's a gamble on which Marshall we're gonna get.
I asked for a Marshall 900 and hope for the best, man. I have my 4 Boss pedals I bring, and I do a 4 cable method, and boom, boom. That's it.
Right. Right.
Hey, Kip, I got a question for you. What do you think about the state of rock radio anymore? I live in Cleveland, Ohio. It's supposedly the rock and roll capital of the world, and yet the rock radio sucks around here. And I don't know if it's any better across the country. I mean, rock radio needs to pick up bands like you guys again and start playing this shit.
That would be awesome, but I don't see that happening. It would be great if, especially, I mean, I feel like Proud Desperado is totally worthy of radio play, but stuff I'm totally out of touch with it, so I'm not really qualified to talk about that because I got a lot to say about the things I know about and not much to say about the things I don't, and that's one of them. I don't know what's on the radio these days. Everybody always quotes me like, well, you're not going to get on the radio with Five Finger Death Punch. So I guess they're on the radio. I don't know, but
well, with Sirius Radio though, I mean, you're on Eddie Trunk's show and all the '80s stuff on XM.
Yeah,
right?
I just wish there was more commercial play for bands that are good, and I don't think it gets enough commercial play. I mean, maybe that's not what people want anymore, but I want it, and I think there's a big audience for it. And I just think the state of rock music needs to come back to what it was.
I'm with you. I'm with you. The problem is that this is also generational, and we're in this group with certain mentality, and there's a whole nother faction that's like listening to Falling in Reverse, and it has nothing to do with what we do.
What's even weirder, Kip, that trips me out is when you consider how much time had gone from the big band of the 40s to like when Winger was on MTV, like how much of a duration of time that was, and then move that. There's been that much time between the 80s and now, in a sense, that it's just weird
God.
that
that's a bizarre realization.
It is, but it did slow down. It's cyclical. Some music's cyclical, but and therefore it kind of doesn't. It's not a straight shot of transformation. But there's been a lot of time since Piercy and Winger and you have debuted, enough time that it's similar to that musically, duration wise, of years. But
that's amazing. Yeah,
it's all been done pretty much. But we got to see if it morphs into something else. I've mentioned before on past episodes that I see a lot of young kids starting to play guitar because of YouTube. What a great teacher YouTube is that we never had growing up. You either were able to afford to go to GIT to learn how to shred, or you didn't, and now kids are getting some amazing, guitar lessons. So I am expecting a new generation of guitarists to come up, and rock music to come back around again, because I think kids are realizing that they're being ripped off, that a lot of this hip hop music and so forth is just very inexpensive to produce, and that's why it's pushed on
that's
kids.
Really interesting that you say that they use that adjective, inexpensive. That's a really interesting way to think about it. I have to think about that
Sure.
to give you my answer.
Well, it's when you think back of the 80s recordings, like I heard from Steven, what some of the budgets were for Rat going in, and it was astronomical, where today you can achieve so much more with your equipment in your studio there than what they had at the time. But they literally spent probably $1 million to make any one of those records back then. And that was with everything involved, probably, the producing, everybody that's got a hand in it. But you've streamlined things to this point where, am I wrong in saying that this Winger album's completely self-produced?
Totally. Yeah, no, but every Winger album's been self-produced. But the early days with Atlantic, our budget was 125 grand. That's what we spent on our first album. The second album was maybe 200, and the third album might have been 300 because that's the way our deal went. And that was because the studios back then, with needing the technology, you had to pay anywhere between 1,200 to 2,000 a day or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'd be in there 6 months, and it adds up fast. And then the producer fee and the whatever, all the crap. And then as technology, has become what it is, it's like you can go. I don't know. I mean, you can do it you could do it all in. I know a little. I know a friend of mine in Istanbul whose son does everything in GarageBand, and it sounds better than anything I do. And I don't know how he does it. I mean, he programs all his own plugins, and he's a little genius. But and I have a lot of really good gear that might, if it was like a commercial studio, might cost I don't know, a couple hundred a day. I don't know what, but
sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot cheaper and it's a lot easier to do it yourself. The one thing I would say about all of this stuff is none of it matters if you can't connect an emotion. Even, if it's R&B or if it's heavy metal or if it's just plain up straight up rock or pop or whatever it is, like how it's made doesn't really mean anything. It's all about the end result, which is the emotion of the music. Like, even if it's intellectually incredible and it doesn't make you feel anything, it's still not successful, in my opinion. Like, if the only successful music is that can evoke a strong emotion, really, like whether it's, this makes me feel cool, or, I feel very sad when I love this song, it makes me feel happy, just something about how it's affecting you. And I think, our generation, we look at other music and we go, I don't get it. But I mean, people get it. It's all about how you're connecting. And the R&B culture, like, I can't totally relate, but I have listened to a lot of it where I'm like kind of blown away by the production. It's like, and sure. I feel something from it. I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. How did they do that? And
they all have really big choruses, and you were right in there on your new record with making sure that the catchiness of your choruses were clearly important, where you wanted to have that, I don't want to say marketability, but just to be, like you said, to be able to connect with people in that sense.
I'm old school songwriter. I mean, the song has to go like this, and hit you when it hits you with the chorus, it's got to take off,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just following in the footsteps of those who have come before me,
We did a great job of it. Now, what we need to talk about here, because as you can see the ship in the background, Stephen Piercy has just been added to the Monsters of Rock cruise that I know you're going to be on.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a little terrified of this. I've never been on a cruise in my life. So I thought you could tell me and Seth a little bit about your past experiences. Have you done the Monsters of Rock cruise before this?
Yeah, many times. And I was like you at the beginning. I was like, not into it. Like, sat in my cabin, moping for the first couple days. Like, and it was like, it was the reverse of Darth Vader. It was like, give into your love. I was like, what's not to like? You're out on the ocean, the sun's shining, the food's great, and like,
Have they always hooked you up with like a good suite kind of deal, or you're not in a bunk bed with Reb, right?
No, no, no. I mean, we all get our own rooms. I mean, it's
Do you get
great.
a little port window to like?
No, no, no. We get the balconies, but
Nice, where you can like go out and actually sit on the balcony.
yeah, sure, yeah, sure,
Oh
yeah,
man, that looks pretty dope. I did watch like on YouTube, they have some Monsters of Rock cruise videos on there from the past years. So I was
yeah.
trying to kind of get a feel. But one thing I noticed that was like made me feel a little uneasy. And now I'm not as anywhere near the fame of you and the other headliners on there. But I saw Sebastian Bach, and I noticed like people were going up and like tapping him. He was at the bar like trying to get a drink, and just these constant like fingers of people, hey, 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 and he was like kind of ignoring them. And I don't know, man, you got to be in the right frame of mind to be around those fans, right?
Well, I mean, they're who put you there. So, I mean, I don't mind hanging
Yeah.
with the fans. You just know that if you go down into general pop, you're just going to be taking photos and hanging with the
Sure.
people that put you there. And I don't mind it at all, actually.
You keep telling yourself that.
Well, no, I'm pretty well known for like the guy that hangs the most out, out in the, going to see other bands and doing events and stuff like that, because it's like, people dig it. It's fun. I'm a huge fan of the cruises. I really, I mean, I'm loyal to the Monsters of Rock cruise. We've been offered a bunch of other cruises,
Right.
and I'm really loyal to the Monsters of Rock cruise because it's really like it's a real rock cruise. There's no like other style music on there, and it's it's kind of, everybody's in the same frame of mind, and there's a lot of great other acts and stuff, and
This got me out of the doghouse.
I love to gamble, so I'm always on the casino. But I interrupted you. What did you say?
Oh, I was gonna say this cruise got me out of the doghouse with my lady that I live with, because it's tough, being dating a musician and this,
Yeah.
and we have our issues, as our viewers know. But when this cruise came up, and I was like, guess what? I'm taking you on a cruise, babe. This just absolved me of like all wrongdoings. Like, we have been getting along so good. She's so excited about this.
Yeah,
She's like,
but see, that would be like the worst, though, man. That would be taking your girl on a cruise where there's girls
like taking sand to the beach.
and the bikinis all over the place, all over the boat. I mean, that would be crazy.
She would make it miserable for me if she wasn't there. It's better that we're together on this, and
No,
this will go a long way.
It's not a hookup scene. It's a really, everybody's out. Most everyone has a partner, and it's just fun.
Right.
It's just like seeing these bands in different setting that you would never normally see them in, and the production's really high quality, and it's really well put together.
So would you say you gotta correct me if I'm wrong, like as far as our bands go, we have to play like 2 different concerts or something like that during the 5 days?
Each band does 2 shows, yeah, and maybe you'll do a photo experience event or something like that.
Yeah,
do another Playgirl.
No, like where everybody gets their photo with you.
Back here in Cleveland, we used to have Monsters of Rock like concerts here at the Rubber Bowl in Akron, and tickets would be like $15, and you get the biggest bands in the world. I mean,
listen, Ohio rocks like no other state in the union. I'm telling you, every rock show I've ever done in Ohio just is like top notch fans. I mean, they just rock it, man.
I mean, I just miss concerts like that. I mean, the cruise sounds amazing, and I would love to be able to get on one of those cruises.
Well, that's what this is, Seth. This is Monsters of Rock, but on a boat.
We need Monsters of Rock in stadiums again. Get you guys out and play in front of 70,000.
For me, it doesn't last long enough. I wish it was like 10 days.
Well, now you're getting me excited about it.
Yeah.
I got to make sure I'm mentally prepared for this, but it sounds like it's going to be a great time. Now, when you've done these before, it always goes like a different location every cruise, right? Has it always gone to the, I forgot what this one even is going, like off of Haiti or something?
I don't remember. Yeah, you guys, everybody has to look that up. You just go to the website, because I've been on so many of them, I can't keep track. But
they're different though, right? You've gone to like different spots for it as far as, and do you actually get off the ship too, or do you stay on there? Is that too sketchy?
Off. No, I get off. the first time I did it, I did not get off, but every time since I get off and go to the beach and get some food or buy some weird stuff. I don't know. Just I really, my dream life is. I used to live in Florida and I loved it. I like the Caribbean vibe.
Right.
You got a big tour coming up though, right? After the cruise, are you touring?
Tons of gigs. I mean, the whole year's filling up really fast because of this. The new album, and it's the 35th anniversary of the first album, and it's the 30th anniversary of our third album, which is a big favorite among Winger fans. This album, Pull, and the new album is kind of what I tried to do is like inject the inspiration of the first album with the musical intelligence of the third album. So it's really kind of a mixture of those two albums. We went back to the original logo. We got all the original guys. They played on every track. So it is a full circle event for us.
This is the most women we've ever had tuned into the show.
It's amazing.
Usually the Chris Akin Presents show is a total sword fight. I'm going to be honest. I've been counting over here while you've been talking, and they just keep coming one after the other, after the other.
Some of the comments, how do you know how many people are on here? Let's see. The comments kind of come up one at a time.
Yeah, that's me pushing. I'm pushing.
He's highlighting the ones that are less dirty, that are okay to put.
Oh, there's Carrie.
This is a children's show.
I'm sorry I came on early, Carrie. I've been on since 5:15.
Kip was excited to be on the Big Monsters of Rock. Actually, the last time I saw you was magical. It was at the Chris Angel birthday extra. Am I right? It was Chris Angel's birthday in Vegas.
Chris Angel. I mean, what a talk about a genuinely awesome sweetheart of a guy. I mean, gee whiz.
He does amazing things for children's hospitals, and the guy raised he raised a good amount of money, and then he just threw like an extra $1 out of his pocket, like right out there.
Unreal, man. He's really genuine. I mean, he's the real deal. Like, he's I met him for the first time that night. He texts me all the time now. He's like, he's just
he loves rock, 80s stuff.
No, he's a great dude, man. Anyway, so that was a great honor to play at that thing. And there was our buddy Paul Stanley there, who I'm a huge fan of, and decided to get up and jam, and I had to follow him at that concert. It was like, uh-oh.
Well, for me, the most memorable thing was Robin Zander.
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, so he was super nice. That was the first time I had ever, actually like met him in person. He was very nice to me. And then at the end, he was kind of the headliner, if you will. And at some point, the band's playing Surrender, and they bring out like all the performers that were there. I think even Flavor Flav might have been in attendance there. But somehow I ended up on a microphone with you, and we were like, "Your mama's all right, your dad is all right," and we were singing it together. I didn't even know that was going to happen, and I was like, I had to stay at Piercy's, and he lives in Vegas now. I don't. I live in San Diego, but I had to go stay at his house for that. We had just played a show, but instead of going home, I went to his house, and they had been taking good care of me, but they didn't feed me like dinner that night. They assumed there was going to be food there, and there was. And so I was like backstage eating nauseous. I don't know if I had like cheese breath or whatever bad breath when I was saying that.
I don't remember.
Okay, good. Because I know I was like, surrender, surrender. And I was like, oh shit, I hope I'm not breathing bad breath on Kip.
No, that's all good, man. I've had way worse. Trust me.
Okay, good.
In my acoustic show, I bring random people up to sing Miles Away, and I always have a pack of gum there here, before you sing. That's
you
funny
make them sing with a mask on.
A lot of guys move to Vegas, and I guess it's the place to go. I mean, I moved to Nashville in 2002, and since then it's become like a huge place for all the people to go. And it's San Diego. That's God's country. I mean, that's amazing.
Right. Right? I live in Oceanside. Kip, you would not believe like where I'm living right now. I don't even know how this happened, but I'm in like this dope condo, living with this beautiful woman, like right on the strand at Oceanside here, and it's insane. I don't deserve it, but I'll take it,
Wow.
man. That's
Good for you. Hey,
Yeah.
what's the origin of your last name? Is it Greek?
That is Greek, yes.
Oh, there you go. Do you speak Greek? Yeah.
Tikanis, Kip.
Oh, right on, right on.
How about Winger? That's German, right?
Yeah, through and through.
Kip Winger, you will buy the new album and you will love it.
Get out!
Get out!
No, I have my grandfathers, my great grandfathers all immigrated to Germany from Russia, and I'm reading the comment.
Oh, she said she danced with you in the '80s in Thunderdome with Baltimore.
Wow,
Ooh.
That's amazing. The Thunderdome.
That's right.
I remember that place. That was a great place. But yeah, my great grandfathers are Russian immigrants to Germany, so I have some Russian in me, which is always nice because the Russian composers are really the best. But the Russian and the French, in my opinion, Germans, everybody, references the German composers, but the Russians and the French, man.
How did you land on using the name for your name for the band name? Did you try other names first? Like, what were some alternate possible names you had?
It was totally by accident. We were Sahara.
Okay.
And that we couldn't be Sahara because somebody served us with a notice that they owned the name.
All right.
And,
yeah, that band's name sounds familiar to me.
And so we called the first album Sahara, and it's down there in the lower right hand side. You'll see it. But Atlantic didn't get that. They just called the album with the self-titled album by Winger. But we were at a time, and back then it was like, who could come up with a cool band name back then? Now there's a lot of cool band names, but somehow
it worked though, man. It's like Winger. I mean, it's like an Air Force jet or something, like a wing or of a jet or something.
Well, that's cool that you think so, because I always I never wanted the band to be named after me because it was a genuine band. I co-wrote all the songs with Reb, and we were like, it was like four guys doing a band, but it is
Reb got his due. I mean, anybody from then knows Reb's a top shredder from the Winger days and the videos, just doing phenomenal tap. There was already tapping from Van Halen, but like Reb was one of the first guys that I remember doing multiple finger tapping on the solos. I mean, and he was really young too. How old were you guys when the first album came out?
I was pretty old. I was like 28. I mean, a lot of guys like Def Leppard and all those guys, they were rocking it at 19, and they all got record deals at a much earlier age. I mean, I was up there, and I started in a band with my two older brothers and did my first professional gig at 8. So by the time I was 28, I'd been doing it for 20 years, and I was thinking, geez, I wonder if I'm never going to make it,
Mm-hmm.
But
or you're not going to get in the 27 club because you were already.
Well, exactly. Knock on wood. I'm glad I'm not.
You're like, well, shit. Now I got to hang in there.
Yeah. I want to be in the 107 club.
Right. The older we get, the older we want to be. Isn't that right?
Last man standing, baby.
That's right. Well, you look great, Kip. You look great.
My wife thinks so, by the way. She has not stopped texting me throughout the entire interview about how great Kip looks. So,
well, tell her thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
The ladies are excited today on the Chris.
Yeah, they are. Actually, we got a text from another woman who wanted to know any orchestras you'd like to work with or anything classical you got in the works.
Oh, yeah. There's the New York Phil, Berlin Philharmonic, LA Phil. I mean, those would be incredible. High goal. That's a lofty goal for somebody like myself. I've been very fortunate in the classical world to get quite a few super high quality performances and commissions. It's been a very long road, but I've been, lucky. I got that Grammy nomination, and
congrats
for classical composition. Thank you. And so it's been it's been great. Having said that, when you get a commission from a major orchestra, I'm working with Nashville Symphony right now, writing a violin concerto for them, and they premiered my first symphony last March, and they're making an album of my 2 pieces of my classical music on Naxos, which is actually the biggest classical label. So it's high stakes, man. I mean, the pressure's pretty intense, but and when you get a commission, it's like it can work against you, because it's like you have to live up to this thing, and I work best when I just want to create something, because I have a very high bar internally anyway, and I'm a great self-editor. Like, I won't do anything. Thank you, Yasmin. I guess you saw Atonement was my first symphony. Thank you very much for saying that.
And you did just sell another record, so on our show we helped.
Yeah, thank you for pre-ordering. Yeah, anyway, the point is that the stakes are high. I work well on my own, but I've been lucky, and stuff's happening, and I managed to juggle both worlds pretty well, because one kind of feeds the other. Like the visceralness of being in a rock band and high-fiving the people in the front row, and then taking that energy and translating into a classical piece, and turning on a lot of people to classical music too, that they wouldn't have. Greetings from Brazil. Hi, how are you?
See, Kip knew where that was. I wouldn't even know what flag that is.
That flag, yeah. Yeah, one kind of feeds the other, So it's
metal music has a lot of classical influence. Actually, I mean, some classical pieces are very metal to me.
Sure, I mean, down, down, down.
Totally, it was totally taken from that. But it is higher minded music, and it is cool to turn your average rock people onto classical stuff, for sure.
A lot of people that I turned onto it, they're like, "Oh my God, I never knew I could feel this."
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what happened to me. I was a kid, and I've told this story so many times. Most people that know me know this story, but I had a girlfriend that wanted to take ballet, and none of her girlfriends would take it with her. And so I was like, I'll do it. And that sounds fun, because I was in karate and really stretched out, and I got into it, and I took to it. I just was like, oh my God, this is amazing. She quit immediately. And I just went on to, I was in a company, and I was hearing this music going, oh my God, like, where did this come from? And that's kind of set me off on that path. But
that's cool. For me, it was the Star Wars soundtrack in the 70s as a little kid. I'm 50, but hearing that was my like introduction to like a classical score, if you will.
And well, John Williams. Yeah, I mean, John Williams is absolutely. I mean, he's one of the greatest living composers. I mean, beyond a shadow of a doubt. I mean, the guy's he's so heads and shoulders above so many other people. I mean, incredible. But thank you. By the way, you can pre-order our album on Amazon or iTunes or wherever. So it's coming out.
It's going to go platinum by the time the show's over.
I'm telling you.
That'd be great. We got a new single coming soon. Our first single was Proud Desperado. We got another single coming soon. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I can tell you that we've made 6 videos. And so it's going to be, we'll be releasing a lot of stuff.
Shouldn't you have done 7 videos?
7 would have been better.
Good point. I wanted to say, Erik, that you mentioned there's 7 notes in the diatonic scale, but there is 12. 1,
That's
2,
right.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 notes.
Correct.
Depending upon how much kookiness you're going for, but it is to your point about 7 notes. The album title 7 has this kind of metaphysical connotation, and that's kind of why I zeroed in on it as kind of a full circle from where we came from, and somehow not closing the circle, but definitely encapsulating the life and history of the band, because it was almost 10 years since our last record. I don't know when we would make another one, but and it might just be that right out of nowhere I make a totally progressive record specifically to showcase the musicianship of the band, because we've done it all and especially in this album. I mean, I think every song has a small element of what we are all about. I mean, it really encapsulates the kind of story of the band, you know.
I concur with that. Listening to it today, I mean, being familiar with your career, especially the beginnings of it, I was satisfied as a listener and a liker of the Winger Band from way back. I mean, I give it 2 thumbs up.
Well, thank you very much. I
I
appreciate
went through
that.
the whole thing today.
That's nice of you. Seth, did you hear it?
Absolutely, I did. I got an email.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I absolutely did. It's fantastic, man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I,
Are you recording any time with Steven?
Yeah, right now the most recent thing I recorded was a cover that he wanted to do, and that's gonna go as like an added track on a best of thing he has coming out, like a Stephen Piercy legacy. We will have a follow up to the 2 records we did on Frontiers, the Smash and Beauty with Thrill, and that's just something we've been working on. Obviously, we got sidelined as well with the pandemic, and he had his own things going on. He had his version of Rat with Juan that he did for a minute, and that kind of went by the wayside. But it's pretty much, as far as I know, just, you know, Piercy's solo band. We're going to be hitting it hard this year, probably doing more stuff, bills that you guys are on. I'm super stoked about the Monsters of Rock cruise.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, we will be doing definitely more recording, and we'll probably continue to do it over at Matt Thorne's in Burbank. I don't know if you know Matt. He was in Rough Cut bassist.
I know who he is, of course.
Yeah.
We've never palled around or anything.
We've done all the records there, and you know, to what you were saying, you know, earlier about being in the same room as Reb, Piercy and I work the best that way too. Like we don't. I might come up with the riffs ahead of time and so forth, but when we go up there to get his vocals together, whatever, we work best in the room. Matt, Steven, and myself, and just backs to the wall, you know, do or die situation. It ends up bringing out the best in you, and things that, because you're on a deadline. I mean, you're there to work that day, and you got to do this. And you have the energies of both, you know, at least one other person or 2 other people, and you know, you're putting your minds together for something greater than yourself, and you just do it. And
exactly.
the best things come out of it. And like you said, mistakes too. There's beautiful mistakes that end up being your favorite parts to songs.
Yeah.
It's being able to recognize those mistakes as being beautiful.
That's the key. You know, you got to realize when the universe is going, hey, what about this?
That's right.
You can
Things don't always go your way. You have to learn to.
I'm doing that right now. I'm overthinking the second movement of my violin concerto. I've got this, what I think is an amazing start to it, and it's come to it. It goes, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 15. I don't know. It's right here.
Somebody wanted to know what your inspiration is for the violin concerto.
I think for the LA. Oh yeah, violin concerto. There you go.
I'll tell you 1 second. It's several bars, and I'm completely stumped. I'm like, I can't go past it. I mean, by the way, when I write, and I've got my little keyboard right here. I'm not at home right now. I live in Nashville, but right now I'm in California. Right. But I can't sit at the instrument much anymore. I have to get away from it. Like, I'll sit down and play a couple notes, and then I find it very distracting to hear the sound of an instrument. So I walk away more than I do work on an instrument and just try to listen to what I'm hearing, you know. And it's I'm really having a tough time right now. I mean,
do you have a deadline for this?
My deadline is self-imposed. It's got to be done by the end of the year, but it's going to be hopefully performed next year. So it needs to be done by then anyway, you know, because you have to hand it in months before so the violinist can learn it.
Is this the last piece of this concerto that you have, the violin part?
It is. It is. I finished, but I need to reorchestrate some stuff and get it completely happening. Each piece, you're climbing up the ladder trying to make it better than the last thing you did. I made some mistakes on my symphony that were like, I can't believe that I made those mistakes after having already written so many other pieces before. But it's just the way it's the nature of the beast. You got 80 players on stage, and it's like,
Right.
Where
does the violin sit for that? Would you is that like the lead vocal of the instruments in a sense?
Yeah, any concerto is if it's a piano concerto, the piano is the lead voice. If it's a cello, it would be the cello. Right. So it's really, and I was very intimidated by the idea at first, and then I realized that I've been working on solos with Reb Beats for 20 years. So I just was like, well, I'm going to think about it like that, because the violin can just go, and kind of do this kind of a thing while trying to make it, very,
the range of the violin is great for sure.
It is. Surprisingly, it's not actually that wide of a range. The first note is a G below middle C. That's the lowest note they can hit. But fantastic instrument, a lot to learn there. I've been doing a deep dive into. I'm surprised, having written so much music, that I didn't know so much about that instrument.
And you don't actually play it, you do it on a keyboard. You have to write it. You're using your keyboard basically.
Mostly just my mind, and then I'll try to fumble out on the keyboard what to do, and then I'll program in a sequencer a lot of the stuff, because I can't play it that fast. So I'll just I'm trying to get to the point where I can just more like think it and do it, because like I say, the instrument, it's very, very distracting, because you'll play a thing and, oh, that sounds so good, let me write that, and you go off on a tangent. It's like
it becomes too busy.
Well, you just get distracted by the sound of the instrument itself, and you forget about the structure and where it needs to be melodically and this kind of thing.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
It's higher minded, mate. I have to say.
It is.
Well,
I listen to so much music, and you don't think about half this stuff. And it's really amazing the kind of mind you got to have.
Not an entire concerto. I've done little bridge sections that were a little orchestrated, if you will, but nothing.
Yeah. Look, I don't look. You know what? I don't. I certainly hope I don't sound like I'm bragging or anything. I wouldn't recommend it for anybody who could sit. I only recommend it if you can't live without it. Does that make sense?
Like I love what you're doing, and as I said before, that All Comes Back Around was very cinematic also, and almost had a little bit of orchestration going on.
Compositionally, I put as much into that as I would into what I'm doing in classical.
Well, it was not lost on me, sir. I
appreciate you noticing.
I really loved it.
Yeah,
and to me, I think it's, for movie directors out there, this is a song that could be in like a new Batman movie, or I don't know, some big movie or something. I don't know. It had a cinematographic
thank you for saying. I appreciate that. If you know any producers that are doing Batman,
Scorsese, if you're listening.
Does he do Batman? No. Who's like?
No, I don't think he does Batman. No, he does the Godfather Batman.
Yeah, the Godfather versus Batman.
Movies are cool. Now you got film score writers that do amazing music, but when I tried to do film scoring, and I didn't do much, but I found that it brought the worst out in me. It was amazing how that happened, because it's a whole nother skill set, to know what to write to a certain scene. That's a whole different talent.
What about songs? Has Winger songs been in? I would imagine you've had some of your songs in movies and TV by now.
Come on,
none.
I think one or two at the most, and they were way back in the day. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, we had a song called Battle Stations. And I think in Karate Kid, we had a song called Out for the Count.
Nice.
And that's the extent of it.
Man, Piercy, though, that rat has got into some huge movies. Like, it's really just like, wow. I would be happy with just one film. I mean, the movie The Wrestler has some remakes of Rat songs that I did, but I didn't get a dime for that or anything. I want a song that I wrote to be in a major film so I could at least live in an apartment the rest of my life. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you know what the thing is if you just got to show up. I mean, like, you just show up, and write the music and get it out there, and just don't, for all of you people out there wondering how to get somewhere,
just don't give up.
Exactly. You just got to show up, do the work every day. Like I say, I mean, if you write every day and you commit to a certain amount of time a week, maybe it's not every day because you have to do something else, but if you commit to a certain amount of time and you just never give up and you just keep pushing, I mean, I'm living proof that it'll happen. I came from Denver, Colorado, out of the middle of nowhere, and I wanted to do the things I did. And then I mid at 35, I was like, no, I want to do this, and I just did it because I put in the time,
You got the Alice Cooper gig was your first gig, right? Bass for Alice Cooper.
That was my first major gig. Yeah.
That's pretty dope. Was that a Cattle Call tryout or?
No, Bo Hill, the producer who did Rat. I'd known Bo way before he did Rat. I was 16 when he produced my a album for me or a demo for me and my brothers, and he was producing in New York after Rat hit and was getting some big gigs. He did Alice Cooper, and they needed a bass player for a few songs, and he called me up to do it. And I just happened to be a humongous Alice Cooper fan. And Kane Roberts is the guy I have to credit for suggesting that I put a bug in Alice's ear that if they go out, that I'd love to go on tour with them. And they called me up. And so Kane and I actually auditioned the rest of the band. That's where we found Ken Mary and Paul Taylor and Artie, the other guitar player that was Kane's friend, but that was a lucky gig. And I was a huge Alice Cooper fan. Dennis Dunaway, Alice's bass player, was the hugest influence on me. Probably the most influential. Him and Mel Shocker from Grand Funk, and Dale Peterson from the James Gang. Those three bass players had more influence on me than anybody. So I knew the music inside and out, and I think, they probably hired me for my voice because I could sing all the high stuff. But
that's like being multilingual, almost like regular society, being able to do two different tasks like that. I mean, it definitely will get you the job in a lot of cases.
Yeah, singing is hard to come by. It's by the way, I mean, now I'm like terrified to go on stage. I still love it, and I love the crowd response, but when you're the singer, it's like, well, what's going to happen tonight? It's not like, oh, I can tune my guitar.
Right. Well, my voice ain't in there.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's always a crapshoot.
Well, Kip, we want to thank you.
Yeah, thank you, man.
So much from the bottom of our hearts for coming on the show today, because I feel like the Chris Akin Presents show just like went up like 5 notches on the legitimacy scale of podcast out there.
Yeah, it's
Plus,
yeah.
I think now like our female fan base is pretty much quadrupled.
Yeah, it's through the roof. Yeah.
That's
so
hysterical.
We owe you a big debt of thanks.
And the new album is 7, and I told you at the beginning we're going to play the new song now. That's we're saving the best for last. So.
Good idea. Yeah, pre-order.
And I'll be seeing you on the Monsters of Rock cruise here. I'll bring my Speedo.
Blast, man! I can't wait to see you. There's always some activities that you should sign up for, like painting with rock stars, or
I saw that.
It's fun. It's fun.
They were all really good. I saw the paintings, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna suck. I
gotta get on one of these cruises, man. I'm telling you, I gotta get on one of these things.
Well, anyway, my friend, it was a pleasure to see you
Thank
again,
you,
and we hope you come back soon. Anytime you got anything to promote, please don't hesitate to come on the Chris Akin Presents.
I appreciate it, you guys. You guys have a good one. Thank you.
You too, brother.
All right, man. Take care, Kip.
All right, we'll be right back. Hang on.
Bullets fall like Do you have the idea for a great podcast, but don't have the space or equipment to produce one? Don't wait another minute. Audio Bay Studios is the best place to produce and stream your podcast live. With 4K cameras, professional equipment and more, Audio Bay Podcasting Studio is the best place to showcase your great ideas. Call us today at 440-539-1150 for more information and to book your podcasting session with Audio Bay Podcasting Studio. Call today.
Wow, dude. Kip Winger. Now it looks like Seth's frozen and his mic is not on for some reason. And just me. Well, hello, everyone. What'd you think of that? Kip freaking Winger, my old pal. And now I'm stuck here waiting for Seth to get back on. I'm assuming that he knows how to get himself back into this. But if that wasn't exciting enough, having Kip Winger on the Chris Akin Presents, very shortly here, we are going to have from Tesla the guitarist Frank Hannon.
Yeah.
And are you back with us, Seth?
Yeah, I don't know what the hell happened, man. All of a sudden, kicked me out of the studio.
Kip Winger turned you to stone?
I don't know what happened there. It just kicked me out of the studio. I was like, dear God, what the hell happened? But yeah, he was awesome, man.
He's a very nice guy, very talented, intellectual, yet friendly, surprisingly friendly, right?
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, you're talking about a guy who's done so much. I don't know how he's been doing it this long and still has the passion and love for it. I mean, that's cool. That's what I like about that. You know,
Yeah,
he
well,
just
it
hit
sounds
the
like
road
he's
and take his money and run. He still loves everything he does.
the guy loves a challenge for one, and life is a challenge, but he's living it, and like he said, last man standing. You know what I mean? He's gonna do this till the wheels fall off, as most of us are. That's all the bands that are on this cruise are that way. We'll all do this till we die. We'll probably die on the freaking Monsters Rock cruise someday. They could do a burial at sea.
He was talking about Alice Cooper. I remember back when I was doing rock radio. I got to meet Alice Cooper. He came up to the studio, whatever, and he was doing a show here. And so I hosted like a bus tour with him, and they were driving everybody, the listeners and Alice, down to the show. And I was like sitting up front with him, just talking. And I was like, dude, what'd you do today? He's like, I went to the mall. I was like, all right. I was like, well, what'd you buy, man? And he's like, I bought some watches. He's like $30,000 worth of watches. And I just sat there like, no shit. Alice Cooper went to the mall here in Cleveland to buy $30,000 worth of watches. And I just thought, yeah, it's life of a rock star, man. I mean, that's
wow.
That's cool.
I'm not a watch guy personally. Like last time I had a watch was in like junior high school. I had a Swatch watch. You know what those are?
Oh, of course.
Swatch watch. Yeah. Swatch watch. Swatch watch.
How old are you? You're 50, you said?
Yeah, man. Can you believe it? I know I only look 25, but
you do. I mean, I'm 46, so we're and I look twice as old as you.
Nah.
But yeah, so I mean, believe me, I remember the Swatch watch, but I can't believe how many women were texting in.
Dude, that was insane, because usually it's just like one guy. We have to keep like, gotta put this. We only got one comment to put up for one guy. Today it was like I lost track. I don't have enough fingers to count all the ladies that popped on tonight.
It was pretty impressive.
I mean, that is. It's probably not going to stop either, because we got another superstar coming on here soon.
Yeah, he should be on any minute.
If he didn't forget about us.
I saw Tesla back. Well, they were in Cleveland just this past year, in September, October, something like that. Playing at the casino here at the MGM, and it was a great show. I mean, they did a hell of a job. But
we play shows with them. I've been on the same bill as Tesla plenty of times.
Yeah. I mean, good guys, good people.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, Jeff Keith, he's a blast. I don't know if you've ever met these guys before.
No, not. I never got a chance to meet them. So.
But what you see on stage with Jeff Keith, I mean, in my opinion, he's like that off stage too. Like he never stops. Woo! Wow! He never stops dancing, man. And he was. I remember him being super friendly. As well as Frank Hannon, I've met one time. It's actually been a while. It's been a minute. Probably like I want to say maybe 8 years ago, the NAMM show, which is like the big trade show for musicians, musical gear and stuff like that. And they have a lot of rock stars that show up to that endorse certain brands and so forth. And I ran into him and I just had to come up and tell him, hey man, just wanted you to know I was a fan, because our audience would like to know the first arena band I ever saw in concert was Tesla opening for Def Leppard. And
Nice.
this has been, God, I would imagine around 1987, maybe, or six. But this would be for the Hysteria tour, which this was the long-awaited Def
Yeah.
Leppard. And what
Yeah.
made this tour extra special, besides that they had a big hiatus because Rick Allen had lost his arm between Pyromania and
Right.
Hysteria, so they had a pretty big break there. Like it might have been even like 3 or 4 years between the records, and they were so huge after Pyromania, and it was really bad timing what happened. But then they had this like long awaited album, Hysteria, and they had this new band they were going to be taking out, Tesla. And the first single actually I had heard already. It was Little Susie. Are you familiar with that song?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Now, surprisingly, a lot of people might not know, and I should look up who the original was, but that's not their tune. It's actually a cover song. But that was what put them on the map. Little Susie, I'm going to put up original here so I could see what that artist was. I think it was from the UK. Okay, yeah, it's a band called PhD. So,
Right.
like having a doctorate.
Right.
PhD was the original band, and this was like an 80s pop song. It doesn't sound anything like Tesla's version. Tesla ended up doing like a full awesome, rock
It's
version of it.
badass. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had never heard the PhD version of Little Susie before that. I had just heard it on rock radio, followed up by on Headbangers Ball. They were playing Modern Day Cowboy,
Right.
which was like their heavy track, which in a way it was kind of also their Wanted Man in a way. It's like, it reminds me of Rat's Wanted Man a little bit. But at the time when I was probably, 15 years old, I just thought they were a great band. They were awesome. The whole album rocked. My mom even loved Tesla. She was still not that old, really. My mom was probably in her, mid 30s. No, late 30s probably at the time. And so she still rocked out. And Tesla was, she took me. My parents took me to this concert, if you could believe that.
Right. Yeah.
Because I
My
was,
wife.
no, you go ahead, sir.
My wife's and I. Our song is "Love Song." Now, I don't know
Okay.
if it's actually a good love song when you listen to the words, but that was kind of like our song and our little thing that we've had for now 18
Love
years.
will find a way.
Yeah,
That
so,
one?
I've been a big fan of theirs for quite some time, and I hate to be fanboy here. I'm just but because I've done rock radio I did rock radio for over a decade, and I got to meet all these guys, AC/DC and all. I've been in music videos with some of these people, and it's
Right.
fucking amazing still though today, being able to talk to guys like you and Kip and if Frank comes on. It's cool for me to be able to talk to people that are doing it, and it's the kind of lifestyle that people dream about. And,
Right.
It's a profession for you guys, but at the same time, there's a lot of people that look to you guys as, man, that's the kind of stuff that I wish I would have picked up a guitar as a kid, because it's cool. And it's
Sure.
and
I think
it's fun.
everybody did pick up a guitar as a kid. It's just the ones that, really wanted to stick with it. Or
Yeah.
not. Because I'm glad I did stick with it. It took a long time though. Even I was probably the same age as Kip. Excuse me. I think I was 27 when I got the gig with Steven. And, before that, my prospects weren't looking too great. I didn't live in Los Angeles. I was from San Diego. I wasn't going to play the kind of music that my age group was playing, which was like basically Blink 182 and these kind of pop punk bands, or there was like a rap rock, Limp Bizkit thing going on, and that just wasn't what I grew up on. That's not what I liked. I did like, it's not that I didn't like Limp Bizkit. I do like Limp Bizkit, and I like Korn too, but I just it wasn't my deal. And rock music is what I always loved, and it was an awesome opportunity that Steven would call upon me, years later to join his band. But just like you, I would get starstruck all the time, all of a sudden being like thrown in with all these famous people. Great example, the tour I was talking about earlier with Kip for VH1. I mean, can you imagine being on a tour bus, and basically we have bunks on there. There's about 15 bunk beds, and they're kind of like coffins. Have you ever been on a tour bus?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. These are really expensive, like $1 million Prevost.
Yeah, because they're not the Greyhound. Yeah.
Yeah, it's ain't a Greyhound, but there's, they have the bunks on there. And, I took this, the first row of bunks. I was like up top, and like Don Dokken was like right beneath me on there. And you had Kip Winger, you had the entire Firehouse band, you had Red Beach, you had Stephen Piercy, Frank Wilsey, who was our other guitarist, and then you had Janie Lane just going nuts out there. And things got like really hairy, like in the beginning, Janie was nice to me, but as he kind of fell off the wagon and things got nuts, like first they had a sober sponsor guy come out to kind of babysit him, and that guy ended up partying within like a day or two, and things just went to crap, and he just got like progressively worse till it escalated to this one night. I think we were in Washington DC or something, and we needed to get up super early to go into a XM radio interview down in Manhattan, which we would be going to the actual studios there. And you have to get up really early to go to this, because you have to drive into the city, and it's a whole thing. And we needed to be there like at 6 a.m. So by like 3, we had a bus call of like 3:30 or 4 in the morning or something like that. Well, out at dinner the night before, Janie comes up and tries to get Frankie and me to come out with him. And he has a glass of like Jack Daniels that he just like slams down. He's like, do this, take a shot. And like, looking back, I don't know if this is for sure, and I know he's not around to ask him, obviously, but I think he might have roofied me, because I drank that, and I remember I got like really messed up for not having drank all that much. But we went out, and I think to like a strip bar or something like that. And I was just like, because I'm pretty sure there was something in that drink, I just remember clips of the night. Like we ended up somewhere, and he had an assistant, and I shit you not, the dude's name was Waldo. Okay. And he looked exactly like you would think a Waldo would look, with the glasses and he was just like this kind of goofy assistant dude, and he was out with us too. And I remember I wasn't making hardly money on this thing at all, and I didn't even really want to go to this strip bar, so I certainly wasn't going to be giving a lot of money at this thing. And I remember I pulled out, like, I handed this girl like a dollar bill or a couple like dollar bills, and at some point I remember she looked at it, she picked up the dollar bills, and she's like, like she saw that it was only like $1, so she's like, the fuck out of here. And then I remember like oh, whoa, we gotta get out of here. And I remember like Waldo crawling and picking up the ones, like sticking them in his pocket or something. But we ended up getting out of there, and Janie somehow got mad at me. Like, we were in the cab to leave, and those guys were in the back, and I sat in the front of the cab, and the driver was a little like sketched out. He was reluctant to take us, but it was late, and he could tell everybody was a mess. And he's driving us, and all of a sudden Janie tries to like attack me from the back seat of this taxi cab. And that's the first time that I learned that taxis actually have a partition
Right.
that they can throw up to protect themselves. Thankfully, like he shoo. And I was like, oh man, you should have done that a while ago. And I'm thinking, oh great, now we can enjoy the rest of the ride. Nope. The cab driver's like, get the fuck out of my cab. And he like throws us out in this like terrible part of town. And I was just thinking, oh my God, we're going to get robbed here. We're going to get mugged. What are we going to do? And I saw a police car there, and I was going to ask him where he thought we should go to catch a ride or whatever. But Janie freaked out that I did that. He was like, for whatever he had on him or whatever, he was worried that I was like attracting the police. I understand in retrospect why he thought that. I didn't have anything on me. I was just worried for my life because of this neighborhood we got off. I feel in retrospect, I feel dumb for having gone up to cop. I should have just played it cool, because there was plenty of cabs around there. We did end up getting into another cab, which I got stuck with the bill for, by the way.
Of course.
And not only did I get stuck with the bill, but then when Janie got out, he was like fully like came up to me. He's like, do we have a problem? You have a problem? Huh? And he's like way taller than me, by the way. I'm like 5'9" 3/4. Like, Janie's like probably 6'5", 6'4".
I remember the night that he passed, I was at a charity event, and I was actually doing with a friend of his, and his friend came backstage and said that that Janie had passed, and it was a hell of a night, man. I mean, he was a talented dude, and it was a shame.
Right. Well, he had a lot going on. I don't know in his personal life what he was dealing with, or if there was medications involved or whatever. I mean, I think that anybody who has multiple MTV hits and a platinum record should be grateful for that, and it seemed like, from what I could tell, he didn't like being the apple pie guy or whatever, and he kind of moped about it. And it doesn't take long when you hit a peak like that people end up moving on. You're not going to stay at that peak forever, but once you get to his level, he could have had a career the rest of his life. He could have been to this day out playing the Warrant songs, whether it was with Warrant or not. So it was a total waste. It was a waste of a talented dude. He was young. I don't even think he might have only been in his 40s when that.
Yeah, we got Frank Hannon on, so let me take a
we
quick
do
one
great,
here, and we'll be right back with Frank Hannon. Hang on.
Woo!
It's that time of year again, friends. It's tax time.
What happened?
Things are going crazy.
It's that time of year again, friends. It's tax time. We all know it sucks, but it sucks a lot less when you do your taxes with a simple and easy service. File Your Taxes provides no gimmicks and gives you no surprises. Their pricing is transparent, and their system is easy to navigate while preparing your taxes. Visit them online at taxes.cmspn.com and walk right through your tax preparation and filing in a snap. File your taxes now with no surprises. Taxes.cmspn.com.
That ain't no good for me or you. Without compassion, solutions are sought. Making decisions like they've been survived. Evil intentions, refuse to respect. Pulling the trigger to serve and protect. What's the blame? Let's get real. Somebody had to win a cold blue steel. Nobody wins. Such a shame is true. That ain't no good for me or you. For me or you.
Yeah, that was straight up rocking. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend.
Hey, is it better this way or this way?
There you go. That way.
There you go.
That's
All right,
perfect.
let's see if I can get this thing sitting right. There we go. How's it going, guys?
Looking
Going
good, man.
great, man. How's your Vegas residency going?
Man, it's been freaking awesome. We knew we were going to have 5 shows in the same venue, so we wanted to really put some work into digging into our catalog and being able to really bring back some songs that we haven't played in many years and spice up each set a little differently. So,
Do you play a different set every night, or have you swapped up the songs throughout it so far?
yes, yeah. We've got three. Whoa. Oh, shit. Oops.
Woo!
Hey, sorry, guys.
Awesome.
Hey, we're live, people.
That's right.
Yeah. We've got the 6 or 8 definite hit songs, quote unquote, big video single hits that we had in the 80s, like Modern Day Cowboy, Love Song, the fan favorites, What You Give, Signs, Love Song, and Little Susie's another one. We play those every night, but then we rotate it. Like, we opened up with Lady Luck, which is a song we haven't played since 1989. We opened our first show with that. Our second show, we opened up with Change in the Weather, which we haven't played since 1992. We dug deep and got a song off our first album called We're No Good Together, which is a real soulful R&B sounding song that really showcases Jeff's voice.
Right.
And
how lucky you are, man, that Jeff Keith looks and sounds the same as you do. It's pretty remarkable, I have to say, that you guys look the same as you did in 1986. You guys sound as good as you did then. My first, I know I came up and told you this once. I saw you at the NAMM show like eight years ago, and I ran up and fanboyed out and had to tell you, "Hey, Frank, I'm Erik from Stephen Pearcy's band, and I just want to tell you that Tesla's the first band I ever saw in an arena, and it was opening for Def Leppard, and that was my first experience, like in an arena, seeing a rock bands, was seeing you."
Oh, that's cool, man. Thanks, Erik.
What do you remember about that tour? Like, it was in the round. Like, you must have been ecstatic to have been offered that back then.
Yeah, that was one of the first in the round, in the center of the arena type tours that happened. That was the brainchild of Peter Minch, who Peter Minch is a legendary manager who managed AC/DC during the Back in Black era. And him and his partner, Cliff Bernstein, had a company called Q Prime. And they were genius managers, man. They were really responsible for a lot of the things that pushed us as a young band to, for example, they would listen to our demos that we would make and really be critical and tell us, "Hey guys, this song sucks. This song is great. We want to hear more of that." And, would give us the philosophy of make a great album from start to finish. Every song, all killer, no filler. So going back to that, to their ideas about being in the round, they helped us come up with the 5-man acoustic jam thing. We were young, man. I was only 19 at the time. So I was talented. I was young and crazy on a guitar and wrote songs, but I didn't have any vision or anything. They had the vision. They were the driving, visionaries of what we were doing. And me personally, I was just so young, just going along with it and freaking playing my guitar,
Yeah. Well, my memory was, it was in the round. Now, what was awesome about that is usually, unless you had a lot of money.
Tangent on a total different subject. Go ahead. Yeah, it was in the round and it was freaking huge. And we were on tour with Def Leppard for a year.
Right.
We went to Europe with them and it wasn't in the round. And then we came back to the States and Hysteria hadn't quite broken yet. And Peter Minch had the idea of doing an in the round thing. And I'll let you speak, but what you were asking me, what do I remember? I remember the stage riser went down completely flat and they gave us the whole stage and we ran around that thing like crazy.
It's a lot to do. You have to it moves throughout the show, but I don't think it moved for you guys. You had to just deal with it the way it was, right? You had to
Well, we dealt with it, but they had a ramp in the middle and they lowered it down completely flat. It was hydraulic. and they gave us the complete flat whole giant stage. They didn't limit us at all. They said, go crazy, guys, have fun with this. And
you
so
came out, I remember you guys played Coming At You Live. I remember because the lights go down in the arena. And you guys came out and you had your hair like actually up in hats.
Yeah.
Like, came out almost like in disguise. I was like, whoa, wait, what's going on? Yeah. And then all of a sudden, pow, by the time the chorus, like all this big hair, there they were, Frank Hannon and Tommy Skeoch, baby. And we all knew who you were. I mean, with MTV back then, that's the only way that was even possible, you know?
Oh,
Little
that
Susie, Modern Day Cowboy, all those songs.
Man, that was such a great era. Headbangers Ball, MTV
Yes.
playing metal music and rock music. Yeah, it was a great era, and we had already done a tour with David Lee Roth on the Eat 'Em and Smile tour.
Wow,
which was so huge at the time. I mean, and again, I was so young; it was mind blowing. But
now
I had worked a job as a trash guy, picking up junk off of construction sites, picking up lumber and sheetrock debris and taking it to the dump. That was my job. And Modern Day Cowboy was on the radio, and I was going to the dump. and that's because our manager, again, Peter Minch and Cliff Bernstein, those managers decided to wait and put us on the arena tour on Modern Day Cowboy, which ended up being the David Lee Roth tour. And as soon as we got that phone call, man, I quit that job so quick. They were throwing sheetrock at me. Get out of here.
Yeah, they all knew it. I mean, when your band's on the radio and you're at work, they knew you were going to be a star.
Yeah, they were making fun of me, but it was a great era, man. And so yeah, you had heard of us from Headbangers Ball, huh?
Well, yeah, I mean, back at the time we used to have Rock 102.1 before it was Rock 105.3 here in San Diego. And Little Susie was the first song I remember on the radio, but on Headbangers Ball, Modern Day Cowboy was the first one I remembered. And for me, not having a lot of money myself, I would have to tape this stuff off the radio with either a cassette tape. If you guys were on, I did buy Mechanical Resonance. That was one of the few albums, LPs I was able to get, and I did buy Great Radio Controversy. I saw the opening for Def Leppard, and then on Great Radio Controversy, I saw you guys with Great White, I think, and Kicks maybe.
Yeah.
I was in the front row for that. I remember I pulled a guitar pick off of Brian Wheat's bass that I probably still have around here somewhere. But now tell me about like your instruments, because you've always had such a great, rock tone playing Gibsons. And it's like you always knew what the good gear was. Like, what's your history with guitar equipment, and how did you even obtain some of that stuff I saw you with back then?
Well, yeah, when I was a kid, my first guitar that I saved up for was a Strat, a 78 Strat. I bought it in 78. It was used at the time, and I had a Sears Silvertone amp, and I blew that amp up really quickly, turning it up too loud. I was playing a gig at the Moose Lodge when I was 12. But man, I just had the dream of getting a Marshall head. That was every kid's dream at that time. And I was taught really early to if you want something, you had to work for it, because my family was pretty poor. So my stepdad taught me to push a lawnmower around, and I had a paper route for a while, and I just worked. I would work and save my money, and got my hands on an SG, and I had a Washburn, and I just was always, really interested in trying to get the best gear possible at a young age.
SG was a good guitar. I remember being able to score one for about $900 back in the 90s, even used, of course, but like in great condition.
Yeah.
Now it's just unobtainable for most kids to own a Gibson.
Yeah, no, this was back in like 82, and I got an SG for like $250 at a pawn shop. There was pawn shops downtown Sacramento I used to go to. But I've always really loved, Jimmy Page and Led Zeppelin and the different guitars. Every guitar has a different sound. So I remember the first time I ever got a Telecaster, man, I just loved the way that sounded. I recorded on the Tesla's first album a lot of songs with a Telecaster because it's got a certain sound that you can't get from any other guitar. And then, of course, back then, the Eddie Van Halen, Floyd Rose stuff was really popular. So I had gotten a Warmoth guitar kit and put it together. And
right.
Yeah, I've always dabbled with all kinds of different things and just put the work and effort into doing it. I don't know.
You earned it. But like, from what I'm hearing, man, there was some pretty extraordinary deals you could get back then. Had you known, you could have bought more stuff back then just to hang on to, because it's obviously exponentially increased in value since then. You probably still have most of your guitars though.
Story. When Guns N' Roses came out and Alan Niven, their manager, bought the Les Paul for Slash. And, Slash changed the world with that, man. When that Les Paul was on Sweet Child of Mine and Welcome to the Jungle, that all of a sudden Les Pauls became popular again.
Right.
Well, that Les Paul, when we would go to LA, before Alan Niven bought it for Slash, I used to look at it. It was hanging on the wall, and Guitars R Us. And the guy told me that it wasn't really a Gibson. It was a
Hondo or something.
It was a copy that a guy had made to look exactly like a 59 Les Paul, because back then 59 Les Pauls were really hard to find. They didn't make reissues of them. Gibson hadn't discovered the whole craze of reissues and historic models and all that yet. And in fact, in 1980, 1982, 83, Gibson guitars was hurting because Eddie Van Halen was popular, and Kramer and Charvel and Jackson and all that stuff was really popular. And Gibsons weren't really very popular. But, guys that loved classic rock like me, or, Steve Clark from Def Leppard, he loved Gibsons. And so I was always a fan of Jimmy Page or Angus with the AC/DC, with the SG.
Oh, yeah.
So I would drool over that Les Paul and wanted to get it. And then one day it was gone and I didn't get it. And then I went and saw Guns N' Roses playing at the Roxy, and Slash was playing it. And man, he made history with it. So I'm sure glad he got it.
So do you think that's why it sounds like a kazoo? Do you think it sounds like a kazoo because it's not a Gibson?
Oh, I'm not really breaking any secrets. I think, people in the guitar community know about that story, about it being a recreation of a historic. I mean, it's just a beautiful sunburst reissue of a 1959-60 style Les Paul.
Right.
So
and with you,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask it now. You actually, there is like a Les Paul SG that I think you have, right? It's actually would be considered a Les Paul, but it's that SG shape.
Yeah. When they first invented the SG, they were calling it the Les Paul at the time. And then they changed it to SG because Les himself didn't like the guitar and wanted his name taken off of it.
Yeah, it's a trip. I love it. It's beautiful. Like you said, Angus Young's probably the first guy. Later, I would see Jimmy Page playing it as well. To me, it's like a beautiful female. Just the shape
really
of it.
Curves to it. My favorite player is Frank Marino from Mahogany Rush.
Yeah. Now, I did notice at this residency, tell me if I'm not mistaken, you're wearing a pair of pants that were definitely inspired by Jimmy Page.
Oh, those black bell bottoms.
You had some Page pants on, man. It was cool. I can dig it. We love Piercy Band. We love Led Zeppelin. Those guys really, I mean, I always loved Led Zeppelin. Obviously, I'm 50. They've been around my whole life. But those guys got me back into it, being that they're even, 15 years older than me. That's all we listen to out on the road. So I really got a Jimmy Page myself. I do some of the moves. I do like the,
yeah,
blow out. And,
oh yeah, he did that thing with his hands where he'd be all woo with the theremin, and yeah. Well, that song remains the same. Movie, when we were kids, man, it was playing at the midnight movie theater, and every weekend we'd go to that.
How about when The West Was One? When The West Was One came out on DVD, we all bought a copy that day. We had like 5 copies of that going around the bus, but it was so phenomenal to see like some different shots of that show, the Madison Square Garden show, that we're never seen. It was like so cool.
Yeah.
So you
music of the 70s in general, we're very lucky. I feel very lucky to have been a kid during that era, and I did a little tribute epitaph thing about Gary Rosington a couple days after he passed away. I was asked to tell some stories about how I felt about Gary, and I was talking about the 70s and the airwaves, man. The radio, FM radio, was so great. I mean, you would hear Frampton Comes Alive, you would hear Slow Ride by Foghat, then you would hear Freebird, and then you would hear, Dream Weaver by Gary Wright. I mean, the music was so good.
You guys are doing a residency now. You guys are doing a residency now. You announced another one for later in the year. Is this kind of like the future of Tesla, or what's your plans going down the road?
Hey, what's going on? We haven't heard from you yet. Your name
is... I'm sitting here like trying to get a word in. You guys are talking about
this is our buddy Seth. So you know what's going on, Frank. Chris Akin, our fearless leader, fell ill. So, but this was such a huge show for us tonight. We had Kip Winger on tonight. We had you on tonight, and the show had to happen. And we were fortunate that Seth, who has a show on our network, was able to step in for Chris. So this is Seth, Frank Hannon.
I saw you back at the MGM in Cleveland, Ohio a few months back, and it was a fucking amazing show. But I know that you guys, I think, are coming back sometime this year, but then you have another residency. What, you guys going to keep touring? What's the deal?
Oh yeah, man. I think the part of your question was, is that the future of Tesla? I mean, I don't know what the future holds, man. All I know is that Tesla is more productive now than ever. We just came out with a lyric video and a new single for a song called Time to Rock, which is really edgy. We're producing ourselves now after going through so many different producers and situations. Now we're totally independent. We just produced a recording of a live album that's coming out this Memorial Day weekend. Recorded it at Full Throttle Saloon at Sturgis last year.
Right.
And it sounds great. It's got all our heavy tracks like Miles Away on it. It's just really pounded. Brian Wheat mixed it, and I kind of produced it with my ideas. And so we work together. Brian Wheat and myself are working together more now. We've always worked together, but now it's just on 10, man. I mean, we produced Cold Blue Steel. I saw you played that video just a minute ago.
That's right.
Which I directed that video. So we're hands-on. The residency is just one little thing. We're coming back in October. We're really excited because we sold this one out. They've invited us back. We're doing Monsters of Rock cruise.
By the way, I'm doing the Monsters of Rock cruise too, bro.
All right.
Saxon couldn't be there, and so Stephen Piercy band is pulling in, which of course I'm his longtime guitarist. This is the first cruise I've ever been on in my life, so I definitely wanted to ask you what I should expect. I mean, is this a fun time for you? I know you've done the cruise many times.
It is a great time. Be prepared that it's going to be 24/7, bro. Thousands of people in your face. You can't leave your room without walking to one bar or to the next lounge or stage after. It is constant, man. There's music. There's one show in the theater going on, and then you go to the balcony and there's a show playing out on the deck at the pool. It's freaking awesome. You're going to love it.
It got me out of the doghouse, as I was saying, it's tough being a music man, having relationships. I have my share of troubles with my lady, but when this cruise thing came up, all those went by the wayside. She is like, you get to bring a guest on this when you're in the band.
Yeah. Good.
And so I'm bringing my lady on this. She's bought all these outfits. She's like, she is so excited about this. She's like counting down the days. I just know we got to play, I think, at least like 2 concerts, right? That happen. I guess they're a couple days apart.
Yeah. So you'll be out there with Stephen Piercy, huh? That's great news, man. Well, I look forward to hanging with you.
And I'm so excited. Obviously, your band, I'll be at both shows, of course. But I'm a little weird. I might have to disguise myself to kind of like walk around the place. I was watching on YouTube. I was telling, because Kip's going to be there too, our guest earlier, Kip Winger. But I was telling him that on YouTube there's Monsters of Rock videos that you can kind of get a vibe of what's gone on in past years. But I noticed poor Sebastian Bach was like at the bar trying to get a drink, and you just see fans just one after the other just poking the guy.
Oh yeah, it's like, awesome. Oh. You know, you get hungry at 2 a.m. and you go down to the buffet and it's just packed in there. Everyone's eating and after partying all night, and it's like a nonstop 24/7 party. You know, we've done a ton of them, and I used to play extra shows and do my solo things and play acoustic and do all this crazy stuff. Now after doing so many of them, I'm probably only going to just do Tesla and that's it. And Tesla only plays at theater now. We don't do these outdoor pool shows anymore, man. I'll tell you a story. We were playing on the pool, and the sea wind, the ocean wind was blowing so hard. Our Marshall stacks got knocked over. The cymbal stand went flying. The lights are swinging like this, you know, it was crazy. So hopefully you're not going to be playing out at the pool too much in the middle of the night.
You're giving me Titanic vibes, Frank.
Yeah, I'm seeing a Titanic behind you there. What's going on with that?
Akin wasn't feeling so good, and he went to the back of the ship, and because of his weight, it kind of made the whole thing just...
Oh, come on, man.
Yeah, so Seth, what about you, man? Are you going to be on Monsters of Rock cruise, buddy?
Man, I wish I could get on something like that. God, man, I did rock radio for over a decade, and I deserve a cruise like that.
Seth, guess how much the tickets are.
Cruises. I was going to ask, how do people get on these things?
It's expensive, dude. Like, it's I think close to $2,000 a head for like fans to go, and they're like so into it. The same people go on this every year, and they're like almost like a cult in a way.
Yeah, it sounds amazing though. I mean, it does. I mean, how cool could it be being with all you guys and partying? I was telling Erik earlier, man. I'm a fan guy. I'm a huge fan of you. I'm a huge fan of Tesla. My wife and I are songists to you guys. And
Love song. It was their wedding song.
So really? I mean, yeah.
Yes, sir.
And we got married in Vegas. I mean, so we, she's an old 80s rocker and loves that kind of stuff, and so am I. And it's just cool being able to talk to you. But being on a cruise like that seems like fucking amazing. It just does. I mean,
well, yeah,
that's cool.
Great bands playing one after another. I mean, imagine like being at a Rocklahoma or an M3 festival, but you're out on a ship and it's just nonstop,
I will say this though, I do miss. You guys did come to the MGM, and you guys are one of the few bands I've actually seen come around and not play these big, huge festivals. I wish rock music and rock radio would do more stuff like that. Have bands playing local clubs and bands playing gigs around.
Well, they don't happen all the time in Ohio, but I mean, just this year, I think we've been on the same bill as Tesla for at least a couple festivals already. I mean, they do happen, but as you said, sometimes it's in Sturgis and places like that. Where you played is the only place to play. The Full Throttle Saloon. Don't bother playing anywhere else. We always end up at some other campground and no one's there, and I got bugs flying in my mouth, and it's just depressing.
Yeah, Full Throttle is great, man, and Jesse and the crew out there, man, they're rock and rollers. But did I tell you? So our new album is called Full Throttle Live, and it's recorded there, and it's really rocking. I'm really proud of it. And on there is going to be a bonus track that we recorded in my garage live of an old Aerosmith song called SOS Too Bad. And we're playing that in our show now, and it's just so much fun, man.
Hell
if
yeah.
You got an Instagram page or Tesla Instagram, you can see a piece of us playing it. And Jeff King, singer, man, he's like Steven Tyler's little stepchild.
I was telling Seth that I did get to meet Jeff before. And would you agree that what you see on stage is him 100%? Like he's the same way, like off the stage. He's just always he's got so much energy all the time.
wiry little guy, man, no doubt.
Love him though. All you guys are so personable and cool. So I could see that the Monsters of Rock cruise has been a special time. Will continue to be a special time, and we're blessed to be able to keep doing this. You know,
We certainly are, man. We certainly are. I mean, I never imagined, I never thought 40 years ahead, back when we were talking about that Leopard tour and I was only 19 and, I'm in my late 50s now, but I feel younger than ever. And one of the other keys, and I don't want to get on a preaching trip, but one of the other keys you talk about Tesla sounding good these days is because we cut the booze and the bullshit, the drugs and everything out. We've cut all that out. And it enables us to really focus on the music and to feel good. We're not like fighting hangovers in the show anymore.
right?
So sobriety on the road really has helped us a lot.
Piercy's not drank in a good couple years now, and to be supportive, we initially stopped drinking for that reason around him. But I found that I'm the same way. Like I don't drink at any of the Piercy shows, to be honest, because we have such like weird schedules. I couldn't imagine having to, get up 3 hours of sleep to catch a flight or these things and being hungover. Like those days are over, man.
I've done that so many times, and so many times. And I feel like, we're in the last quarter of our career and I want it to be the best it can be. And so I don't miss the feeling of drinking or being hungover or having regrets or any of that bullshit that goes along with it,
Right. You never took that on stage though, man. Tesla has always delivered. And even with the lineup changes, it's the band's super solid. Tell us about Dave Rude. I mean, he's the latest, not the latest. The drummer change is probably the latest change you guys have had going on. But tell us about the new guys and how they fit into all this.
Well, the three original guys, me and Brian started the band, and then Jeff came, and he's been with us. Jeff, Brian, and myself are the three original core members of Tesla, and that goes to songwriting from the beginning. I mean, Tommy played a big part in the songwriting as well. But yeah, Dave's been with us, 17 years now, I think. It seems like, yesterday when I found him on MySpace.
I forget because he has a vibe similar,
Tommy was a natural rock star, very photogenic, right. And Dave is that way, just a natural.
They are very similar. They're cut from the same cloth, right? So I think that's why I didn't notice for so long.
Natural groove. And I auditioned a bunch of guys for a few years and in hopes that Tommy would get it together, but that's another story. But I looked and looked and looked. And when I found Dave and we played together, it's all you're a guitar player, it's all in that right hand and the feel of the rhythm. Rhythm guitar is the most important. I don't care how much noodling you can do. If you can't play rhythm guitar, then forget it. And Dave nailed the rhythm guitar parts perfect. From day one, I knew he was the guy to fill the shoes, and he looks great. And overall, the most important thing is having a positive, refreshing attitude. And he's got that. And that's what Steve Brown has. Positive energy, positive attitude, an amazing drummer. And he is Mick Brown's little drummer. So, little brother.
Little brother, right. And I just learned that like maybe a month ago. I didn't even know he had a brother, but he does. And the dude rocks.
Well, you probably don't know this either, but Mick Brown and George Lynch are from Northern California, up by Sacramento, which is where we're from. And they moved to LA and became famous in Dawkins. But before that, they lived up in Northern California. And little Stevie Brown is his younger brother, used to come hang out at the clubs. And I've known him forever. So he's been a member of our Tesla family for a long time. He's played shows with us off and on when Troy couldn't make it. So he was the logical, perfect match for the job, and he does a great job, man. He just drives the band. Great energy, as good, if not better than his brother on drums. So
yeah,
great.
That's so cool. I'm so happy that you guys are able to run on all cylinders. It's amazing. I'm super excited about Monsters of Rock. As I said, I'll be right there for those shows, even if I don't plays, I'll definitely come out to watch Tesla play.
Well, yeah, I hope to run into you, and I'll come check you out now that I know you're in Steven's band, man. And
I know you guys like to rat and roll, man. Come on.
Oh, hell yeah. Rat was a huge influence on Tesla. I mean, we're talking about 1982 and the twin guitar band vibe, trading solos, the song Round and Round is a freaking masterpiece. A Wanted Man, Back for More. I mean, that acoustic guitar and all that. I mean,
you guys did similar like augmented chords on like Modern Day Cowboy and things like that. Had those vibes.
Rat influenced us, Night Ranger. You know, all that early 80s, man. Randy Rhoads was a huge influence. Quiet Riot, man. We used to play all that stuff when we were kids, you know. So I love to come hear you play. And now, Seth, are you in Las Vegas? Is that the vibe I'm picking up on?
No, man. I'm in Cleveland, Ohio, of all places.
Okay.
He's in East Palestine. You might have heard of it.
About an hour from East Palestine, Ohio. Yeah, but, Cleveland, home of rock and roll, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city.
According to Huey Lewis.
Oh, Dayton, Ohio. I just played a show in Ohio, an acoustic show. I love Ohio.
Yeah,
and you guys played at the MGM Casino, and it was an amazing show. The only thing I don't like about the casino show, you're on for like half hour, 35 minutes because they want you to quit playing, so everybody goes and spends their money at the freaking casino. So I would love to be on that ship. I'd love to be seeing you guys, but you guys do a hell of a show and a good job. And it's
Tesla's a band that puts on a long show.
Yeah.
Like you guys have done, what's the longest gig Tesla's played? Like a 4-hour show or something, right? I mean.
Yeah, we used to do that. We used to play extended stuff, and we would open our show with War Pigs, and we'd do 2.5, 3 hour sets. But we're older now, man. We got to pay.
That's right. The crowds are older. It's not even you guys. It's like the crowds are older, and you have to take that into consideration. Like a lot of them can't stand for more than an hour. That seems to be our sweet spot. For, at Piercy shows, even we're supposed to play like 75 minutes, but we just come in and we just give them like a good hour of rat ass kicking and get out.
Yeah, make the crowd want more, man. You want them to, keep wanting more.
That's right. And we're going to give them more on the Monsters of Rock cruise. So I think there's some tickets left for this.
For more.
You sail away. You're back for more.
You guys better post some videos, man. I want to see some videos of this stuff that goes on that cruise.
Oh, that's all people do is post videos from that thing. I hope they don't get a video of my wig blowing off out there if we have to play on the deck. I want to be in the theater with Tesla.
On that. Who's playing bass in your band?
Currently we have Matt Thorne, who was the bassist in Rough Cut. He was actually the original bassist in Mickey Rat when Jakey Lee was in the band.
Hey, I just saw Jakey Lee at the Tesla show Saturday night. He was at the House of Blues. He came and saw.
Hell yeah.
We were having some great conversations about Badlands and how we toured together with Great White back in 1990 when Tesla was headlining arenas, and I don't know if it was that tour or it might have been the doubleheader tour with Great White when Badlands was opening for us, and it was great to see Jake again. And we talked about Rat and Warren DeMartini and George Lynch, and we're having a great conversation.
All the West Coast rockers, which we owe a gratitude.
Yeah, we hung out with Sebastian Bach the other day. That was really cool. He came to our show, and then he invited us to go record store shopping with him. And we went to a vinyl store here in Las Vegas with Sebastian Bach, and that was really fun, man. What a great guy.
Dude, let's go get some records, dude.
Yeah, man, look at that. Dude.
He's a big fan, obviously, as most people know. Sebastian Bach is probably the biggest fan / rock star. So
he is. He loves it, man. He loves Kiss, I'll tell you that.
He's a Kiss tard, big time.
Yeah.
Good stuff, Frank. Well, thank you so much, my brother, for coming on and sharing stories with us. It meant a lot. Our show has taken on a whole new legitimacy today. With Kip Winger and Frank Hannon on here. Come on.
Wow, I don't deserve it, but thank you. And thank you, all you Tesla fans, for listening to our songs. And, if I do have any pride in this craziness, it's in the songs. I'm proud of the songs that we wrote, because Jeff Keith, our singer, kept it real from his heart. And I'm proud of our songs, and I'm really happy to still be able to play them live and do what we're doing.
We're proud of you, man. Tesla's like our Peter Frampton of my generation. You know
Absolutely,
what I mean?
mine too.
So.
All right,
thank you, brother.
Skinner.
That's right. All right,
Thanks, Frank.
You take care, buddy, and thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, man. It's a good dude.
Wow.
Guess, do you want to wrap it up now? I guess.
Yeah, we're about that time, man. But we need to take a minute to reflect on today's show, because that was pretty fantastic. I mean, not as fantastic as it would have been if Chris Akin showed up to the Chris Akin show.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I didn't hang like Chris. I apologize. I told him I did not.
No, you totally hung. And how cool is Frank? He cared about you, man. He was like,
a good dude.
He's like, enough with you, man, Mohawk boy. He's like, how about this man over here with the Strat behind him?
I wanted to ask some stuff, but you guys are on a roll about the guitars, and dude, for me, again, hearing that kind of stuff is like cool, because that's
I could have talked to that guy I could have talked to him for like 5 hours, but I mean, we generally wrap it up at the 2-hour mark. We know it's, that keeping the attention spans of our listeners is challenging, but you did great. And you got to divulge to him that Love Song is you and your lady's song, man. I mean, he cared about that.
But I appreciate you having me on and being here with you. It was a good time. And, again, for me, it's cool listening to you talk to a guy like that about the inner workings of being, a rock guy, dude, being a rock star, and hearing about the guitars and that kind of stuff is stuff that people don't normally get to hear. They get to hear the fluff stuff of, so how'd you become Tesla? They don't get to hear the cool shit about playing guitar, and that's good stuff. I really appreciate you letting me in tonight. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We're happy to have you. And we, of course, wish Chris Akin a speedy recovery.
Yes, indeed.
I'm sure you'll be seeing him on his various shows on the CMS this week, and then Saturday night classic metal show with Neely. And on Monday, we'll catch back up. We'll be sure to let everybody know who the guests are, and be sure to hit the like button tonight and subscribe to Chris Akin Presents and all the shows on the including Seth. Seth, let's talk about your show real quick. When can they watch you?
Monday and Wednesday nights, 5 to 7. Monday and Wednesday nights, 5 to 7 Eastern time, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Facebook, YouTube, CMS Network, of course, is where you want to be watching the show, because
it's a double dose.
Yep. So we're having a good time doing it. It's a lot of everything. We get guys on, rock stars having a good time that Chris lends us at times. And
I was
politics. I know you were, and you were great.
I had a flat Earth behind me.
We talk flat Earth. We talk climate change. We talk politics. We talk entertainment. We talk a little bit of everything.
Today, you got to see some pieces of the firmament.
Yes, indeed.
That I had. I mean, that's pretty dope. Oh, behold, pieces of the firmament from the sky in my hand.
See, there's a lot of people that don't believe. I do.
Well, you know what's interesting about, people use that metaphor about a glass ceiling, right?
Yes.
Now, glass could seem fragile, but also glass could be impenetrable,
Absolutely.
Like bulletproof glass, perhaps. But what's most interesting is glass is made of what? Sand, surprisingly. So
there you have it. See,
there
deep thoughts is the end things tonight. So thanks again for having me on.
More you know, no one's half the battle.
Yo, Joe. See, we are the same age, man.
That's right. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning in. We will see you next week on Chris Akin Presents.
See ya.
And things keep changing.